Hey guys, what's going on? Tobin here with you. Thanks for checking out the channel. Much appreciated. Check out the Tobin and Leroy radio show. We are streaming every single weekday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. on the WQAM YouTube channel. I will put the link in the description. And of course, subscribe here. Subscribe here, like here, all that good jazz. Miami Heat, they'll be back on the floor on Friday as they take on the Milwaukee Bucks. And they'll be back on the practice floor on Thursday. But Kevin Love did speak to a handful of the beat writers yesterday via Zoom call and got into a little bit of his decision to come to Miami. First of all, number one thing that I love that Kevin Love had to say was easy choice to pick the Heat over the Sixers. I mean, if you look, this man just may be playing me like a fiddle and knowing the right way to get to my heart. But that's a great start. I mean, the only thing I think that could make it better is if you said easy choice if it was between the Heat and Knicks. I think that would have been fantastic as well, or Heat and Celtics. But you're going to say that was an easy choice to pick Miami over the Sixers. You're going to win some bonus points from old Tobes. That's a gateway to my heart. So that was pretty fascinating. He also said people were a factor, money was a factor, location, that sort of things. But for me, it was looking at the Eastern Conference, looking at what teams need, and a lot of that factored in. But for me, it was a role being able to be myself and play to my strengths and a team that could really use it. And I do think that Philadelphia was a little bit of a weird fit. I mean, it definitely would have been, strange because they went and got PJ Tucker to play next to Joel Embiid. So I don't know. Now, in relation to starting, that was another thing that I was asked about, if it was important for him to start. And he said, it doesn't really hold any weight for me. Spo is great for a reason. He really communicates and communicates well. He gets the best out of his guys, and he's doing that since he took the reins of head coaching. So for me, I don't get too worked up about it. I feel like I just want to step in here and compete and further put a place and see minutes. So that'll be interesting. It doesn't sound like maybe that's in the cards early on. I thought he was going to come here and just start right away. I mean, look, I guess it could still happen. We'll find out tomorrow. Maybe they don't want to show their cards, but I do feel like if this is going to work, and I guess this is also, contingent on if Kevin is still good and still has something, I guess, that we still have that obstacle to go through, but he does say that he's completely healthy from his hand injury that was messing with his shooting earlier in the season. And I just feel like if this is going to work out to the best of its ability, you get the most minutes you can with him and Bam Adebayo. It's not a huge thing for me. Ultimately, like, they're going to have time with each other on the floor. If they want to slow roll it, Spo is not afraid to switch things up as the playoffs start. We have seen that he can just completely flip it on its head. And it's also going to be interesting because, if they're going to get Omer, it's a fascinating comeback because, Spo's, you're going to hear from Spo because there's going to be guys who don't play and recognizable guys who don't play, and he's going to give you with these are first-class problems types of things, which they are. I mean, you're not bringing up a bunch of G Leaguers, and you hopefully will have, I never want to say your full complement of players because it never feels like you have that, but if everybody is coming back, and Vic and Lowry and Yurtsevin and, Tyler and all the guys, Duncan obviously came back right before the break. If you have that full bevy of guys, yes, Spo does have a lot of things to work out because if you're going to go with the start, well, we know Kyle's not going to be back at least until March. So we know that Gabe's going to start next to Tyler, likely. And it's going to be, if they're going to stick with the starting lineup with Jimmy, Caleb, and Bam, it's going to be interesting to see, well, what does it look like with the power rotation? Like, where do we go? Because Omer Yurtseven's supposed to come back. Where are his minutes? Is he just going to take Orlando Robinson's minutes? Does Kevin come right in for Caleb? So is it going to be Yurt and Kevin Love as your first guys off the bench, or do they, stagger Jimmy a little bit, and then we'll see what it is once it's closing time? Do they slow roll Kevin Love to get him back into, shape because he's been out a little bit and he hasn't quite got ramped up? These are all going to be interesting questions, and this all might be matchup based as well. If you're going to have certain nights where Tyler has it going, then obviously you're going to close with him. If there's going to be nights where you may need a little bit more clampage, you might have to go with Victor Oladipo. And especially if, that's a situation if you feel like you're getting crushed because you got Kevin Love and Tyler out there getting beat up a little bit. I don't know. But I just think that it's between Kevin coming in and all the healthy guys coming back, it's good. It really will be fascinating to see what direction is Spo going to go in with the entire lineup and what direction they go in with. Hey, all right, this guy's going to play. Victor Oladipo is going to be in this role now. Omer Yurtseven, this is how much you're going to get in with the new guys coming in. Cody Zeller also talked about his role coming in, and he's like, I'll do anything. I think Cody Zeller's just happy to be on a roster, see where he can contribute to winning. Certainly if we have a situation where maybe Big Yurt is not all the way back and you're bringing in a guy like Cody Zeller who, has just kind of been there, done that. He's been a rotational guy in this league for a long, long time. I did like his quote, though, where he was asked about the Miami Heat, and he talked about bringing rebounding and toughness. He says, that's what I've always prided myself on, which fits the culture here. I talked with Spo and Riley when I came to work out here about how I hated playing the Heat my entire career because you always knew it was going to be a tough game, and you always knew it was going to be hard playing those guys. It was going to be physical. So it's kind of fun for me to be on the other side and be able to add that kind of and be on the other side of it. Which, listen, he's had plenty of games against the Miami Heat. You talk about being in the division, so you're playing them 4 times a year. And certainly, you go from a situation where you have Bam, and then who do you have behind him that you can really rely upon to give you those tough stats? Those rebounding stats, the stuff that PJ Tucker would bring to the table. And, Dwayne Dedmon just falling off a cliff the way he did. And Orlando Robinson, it was an admirable job that he did, but he's on a 2-way, running out of days. So, and it's probably best that he goes down and gets development. At one point, he's playing 8 minutes, and he looks like a nice prospect. He looks like somebody who can turn into something one day, but it's a lot to ask. Guys like him, guys like Jamari Bouye, guys like Haywood Highsmith. Haywood Highsmith has so much pressure on Haywood to go out there and hit shots. And if you don't, then you're really losing his best asset, which is, his ferocious on-ball defense, which I think with Haywood, it's going to be interesting because he's been key in a lot of the bigger games this year when they've really had to take down a star guy or they've had to take on a star guy. He's a monster in that regard, whether it be, Jason Tatum or any of these guys that you throw out there where it's Haywood could really disrupt this and get his hands on the ball and cause disruption, cause turnovers. So I don't think he gets cut. I think that he's going to be there and basically be called upon if somebody's really handling the Heat and you need somebody to see if they can cause a little bit more havoc and you don't want to put that pressure on Jimmy and Bam early on in a game. I still think that there's a use for Haywood Highsmith, but certainly I'd imagine that, his playing time is going to be pretty depleted going forward unless everybody they brought in is and comes back from injuries is a complete bust. But on the outside looking in, as we're starting off this whole little venture into everything, I think that, he's probably one of the odd men out early on. And I'd say probably Duncan again too, although I would like to see, let's see who is the shooter that kind of has the hot hand. I mean, this is the thing that with a grown bevy of options and bringing in a guy like Kevin Love, one, you hope, maybe the shooting is going to be contagious. Maybe that they see his shots come in from and maybe everybody else feels a little bit, more relief of wanting to hit stuff. That was, we definitely saw at certain times like Tyler and Duncan being able to get off so many shots that could grow leads in previous seasons, not this season. And you hope that that's the case here. But, I think for Spo, he's got to look at Duncan and he's got to look at Max Strus and be like, hey, who's going to have the hot hand tonight? Who is going to be the guy that lights it up for multiple shots from downtown? And certainly they got to keep Tyler engaged to keep shooting too, to get some of that. And even, Kevin Love was talking about this, reading from the Miami Herald, where it's like, the whole thing that you want to do is, he thinks if he can benefit anybody the most, he's going to benefit Bam, because it's just going to make it that much harder to guard a guy like him. You're going to sense that relief. And that's why it's funny. You hear the back and forth of it. Better make some effing shots, better create some effing space. I think those guys know that they really could be a great complement to one another. And at its best, and best theorized, it could be a nice boost for Miami. Maybe it's unfair to think that Kevin Love can be the missing piece, but I think the hope is, one, seeing that back and forth between him and Bam, I thought was big for a couple of reasons. I thought, one, obviously they seem to have a good relationship with each other off the bat. And two, I just think that it's interesting that this team has felt stagnant all year. I don't think it's been as bad as people have made it out to be, but I also get a little bit of the apathy, and I get the the boredom at certain folks. And I think that the players probably feel some of that too, that, you spent all of last year to be the 1 seed, and you did it with a lot of guys being in and out of the lineup. And this year there's been more of that. And yeah, at times it was really bad, but now it's kind of okay. And you've weathered the storm, and you're kind of going into ramp up mode here. And I think it's important to throw something different in there, something to give a little bit of intrigue to the team to figure this all out. Something that seems like it'll fit a little bit easier. You kind of hoped you were going to get this with Victor Oladipo last year, but Vic was coming back from injury, and Vic needs the ball in his hands, and it was a little bit of a tougher adjustment, and it didn't really work. They had to go back and change the rotation after bringing Vic back. Eventually he'd be back in there because of injuries, but I think with Kevin, just seemingly the fun that he has on social media and the back and forth that he's got going on there, seems to be a very, very popular teammate. I saw that Donovan Mitchell and him were having a back and forth. A lot of his former Cavaliers teammates upset to see him go. I think Donovan Mitchell said that he was shocked to see that he was going to listen. If it goes good here, Donovan Spida, who knows? Who knows, dude? But his teammates seem upset to see him go. And, I think, like, if you compare the way his teammates are reacting to how the Lakers are reacting to Russell Westbrook going to the Clippers, I think you could kind of see, well, if Russ coming here, it's obviously a bigger star name in Russell Westbrook, but you can see that, all right, maybe there is this level of relief that you don't have to make Russell as happy or as comfortable. Whereas Kevin Love, it seems like he's going to try and fit in here as seamlessly as possible. So excited to see it, man. Just one more day to see the Miami Heat back on the floor, and I'm really, really jonesing for it.